Now Jack's ma and pa had moved with Jack to another village from where Jack lived when he was a little boy. There was another fellow what lived in that village named Jack. His name was Big Jack. Now Big Jack, he decided he was going to leave the village and seek him a job of work elsewhere. So he got up early the next morning, pulled on his coat, went down to the public road, and pulled on down the road about all day, and he come to another village. He asked about where he could find a job of work. Well, a fella told him there was an old king that lived down the road about a mile, and he was looking for somebody to tend sheep. Well, Big Jack, he thanked the man and went on down the road to the old king's house. Knocked on the door. Old king come to the door and said, "What do you want?" Big Jack said, "Well, somebody told me that I might find a job of work here." The old king said, "Can you tend sheep?" "Well, I could try," Big Jack said. "Well, I tell you what," the old king said, "I'll give you a job of work. But first, we got to make a deal. The first one what gets mad, the other one can hold him down and cut 3 strops of hide out of his back, long enough to make shoelaces." Big Jack said, "That's okay with me. I don't get mad often." "All right then. Go on up and get into bed. You ain't going to feed me no supper?" "No, I ain't feeding you no supper. I didn't hire you to eat supper. I hired you to work." Big Jack went on up to bed, didn't have any supper. Next morning, bright and early, the old king yelled up at him, "Jack, get down here and tend my sheep." Jack came down and take the old king's sheep out. Counted every one of the sheep before he sent Jack out to pasture. Jack said, "You ain't going to feed me no breakfast?" "No, what I tell you about it, you can take my sheep out to pasture." Jack tended sheep all day. Didn't have a bite of nothing to eat. Well, he was about to starve to death. Got back in the evening time. The old king counted his sheep. "Well, Jack, I see you brought them all back." "Well, yeah, that's what you hired me to do. I'm trying to do my job." "Get on up to your room then. You ain't gonna feed me no supper. What I tell you about feeding you." Sent Jack to bed again with no supper. Next day, hollered Jack down, counted every one of his sheep. Jack went out there and tended sheep all day. He was about to starve to death. His belly thought he'd cut his throat. Found an old berry, and that's all he had to eat all day. Got back in the evening time. The old king said, "Jack, I see you got all my sheep in again." "Well, yeah, that's what you paid me to do." "Are you going to feed me some supper?" "No, I ain't feeding you no supper. Are you mad?" Jack stomped his foot. He said, "I reckon I'm mad. You take a fellow and work him all the time, every day, and don't feed him a bite to eat. Sure, I'm mad." Well, the old king, he got Jack down, and he cut 3 strops of hide out of his back, long enough to make shoelaces out of. Jack, he was in bad shape. The old king sent him on down the road. Well, it just so happened little Jack was coming up the road, and he run into Big Jack. Asked Big Jack what happened to him. Well, he commenced to tell the little Jack how he'd got a job with the old king, but he made him take a deal that the first one that got bad, the other one could hold him down and cut strops of hide out of his back long enough to make shoelaces. Well, little Jack, he took Big Jack to a friend of his house, and he told his friend, "If you will doctor my buddy Big Jack up, when I get back, I'll settle with you what I owe you." The fella said he would do that. That weren't no problem. Little Jack, he pulled on down the road, and he traveled on till he got to the old king's house. Knocked on the door. The old king come to the door. "What do you want?" "Well, I'm looking for a job of work. Do you have one?" "Can you tend sheep?" "Yes, I can tend sheep. I can tend sheep better than anybody you ever saw tend sheep." "All right," the old king said, "but here's the deal. First one what gets mad, the other one gets to hold him down and cut 3 strops of hide out of his back long enough to make shoelaces." "All right," said little Jack, "that works for me." The old king said, "All right, get to bed then." "All right," little Jack just took that off up the stairs, happy as he could be. Except he didn't go to bed, though. He went down there when the king and his old wife were eating supper, and he watched through the keyhole. He seen where the old woman put everything up. Late that night, he went down there, and he got potatoes, and he got onions, and bread, and salt, and he stuffed his pockets full of food. The next morning, bright and early, the old king yelled up at little Jack, "Get down here and take the sheep to pasture, Jack." Little Jack came down the stairs just smiling, happy as he could be. The old king counted every one of the sheep. Jack took them out to pasture. Long about dinner time that day, Jack got hungry, so he got him a stick, and he killed one of the sheep, graveyard dead. Skinned it out, cooked it up, eat every bite of it. Late that evening, he took the sheep back in to the old king. The old king counted them up. "Jack, I'm a-missing the sheep." "Yeah," little Jack said, I got hungry today about noon, so I killed me one and eat it. "You ain't mad, are you?" "No, I'm not mad, Jack. Get on the bed." Little Jack went on to bed. That night, he stuffed his pockets full of all kinds of good somethings to eat. Next morning, the old king yelled him down again. "I'll take my sheep out to pasture, Jack." Jack came down again, just happy as he could be. They counted them all up. That day at noontime, Jack killed the biggest fat sheep in the whole herd. Back of an evening time, the old king said, "My word, Jack, you killed my biggest sheep." "Well, I was right hungry today, so I killed the biggest one, so I'd have plenty to eat. You ain't mad, are you?" "No, Jack, I'm not mad. Just get on to bed." Next morning, the old king called Jack down and he said, "Jack, can you plow?" "Oh, it's a sight I can plow. I can plow better than anybody ever come out of the mountains." So the old king, he took Jack up on the hill up there to the barn, had a pretty pair of bay horses. He got them out, put the harness on, hooked everything up, said, "Come on, Jack." Took him up in the field. Said, "Now let me see you plow, Jack." Jack plowed the pretty straight furrows out through there. It looked like they was laid out with an arrow. Well, the old king, he seen Jack could plow all right, so he went on back to the house. Well, when the king left, Jack went over there and sat down under a shade tree. The horse went this way, that way. Jack didn't care where it went. It didn't make any difference to him. Well, there was an old fella come down the road on an old mule, old long gray-haired man with one eye. Jack yelled out at him, said, "Mister, that sure is a fine-looking mule you got there." "Not make fun of my mule, son. I'm a poor fella. This is the best I can do." "Oh, I wasn't making fun at all," Jack said. "No, I was just allowing I'd like to have it if you'd trade it to me for one of these old horses here." "Sure, I'll trade with you," the old man said. So he got off the mule and he unsaddled his mule. Jack took one of the horses out of the harness, let the old man have his horse, and Jack tied the mule up to the other horse, went on about his business, and the horse was dragging the mule all over the place this way and that way. He couldn't stay up. So Jack, he just knocked the mule in the head and killed him. "My word, Jack, where's my horse? You got rid of one of my horses." "Yeah, I see this fella coming down the road with a mule. Oh, he's an awful pretty mule. I allowed you just have to have it. So I traded one of your horses for this here mule. But he couldn't stay up with the other horse, so I just went ahead and knocked it in the head and killed it. Had the horse drag it around, got rid of it. You ain't mad, are you?" "No, Jack, I'm not mad." "Jack, can you pick apples?" "Oh, it's a sight what I can pick apples. My daddy said they ain't nobody can pick apples the way I do." "Jack, go back to the barn and get a rope and a bucket and a ladder. Meet me in the apple orchard." "All right," said Jack. Down the hill he run just fast as he could. He got a rope, a bucket, got him a ladder, and an axe. Met the old king up in that apple orchard. The king said, "Now get to picking apples, Jack." He left Jack in the orchard. Jack went to chopping down apple trees just as hard as he could, chopping down apple trees all over the side of the mountain. Well, after a while, here come the old king back up the hill to check on him. "Jack, you cut down half of my apple orchard." "Well, yeah," Jack says, "this is the way I pick apples. Fastest way what I ever saw." You ain't mad, are you? No, Jack, I'm not mad. Let me show you how to pick apples. So the old king, he set a ladder up in the tree, got him a bucket, and got up there on the ladder, holding on to the limbs of picking apples, and Jack kicked the ladder out from under him and left him hanging up there. "Jack, you get that ladder up there and get me down from here right now. I'll not do it, not till you give me something to eat. And you go down yonder and you tell my woman that I said to fix you up some dinner." Down the hill Jack went fast as he could, knocked on the door. The King's old wife come out to the door. What do you want, you little scamp? Your husband said for you to kiss me. Kiss you? I'll hit you in the head with a rolling pin if you don't get out of here. Back up the hill Jack went. She knew what I said, Jack? Nope. Vowed she'd hit me in my head with a rolling pin if I didn't get away from there. The old king bellowed loud as he could, Woman, you do what this boy says or I'll tend to you good when I get down there. Back down the hill Jack went, kissed the king's old wife, come back up, put the ladder up, let him down. The old king went home. His wife said, Why'd you send that boy here to kiss me? Kiss you? I ain't sent nobody to kiss you. You didn't kiss him, did you? Well, yes, I kissed him. You yelled down here if I didn't do what he said, you'd tend to me good when you got home. Back up the hill the old king went, just a snort. Jack, why'd you kiss my wife? Seemed like a good notion, Jack said. Why? You ain't mad, are you? Yes, I'm mad. Kiss a feller's wife, of course he's mad. Up the ladder he went after Jack. Jack jumped off of the top of that ladder and landed on the old king's head, wrestled him down on the ground, cut 3 strops out of his back long enough to make shoelaces, went back down to where his friend Big Jack was, paid the fellow what he owed him, and left out of there with his buddy, and the last time I saw him, they were both doing really well.